About a month ago, we found fiberglass leaking out of my 5-year-old's mattress. It dusted all over his room like thin, toxic dew on a crisp spring morning. It was shocking and scary and naturally sparked a series of questions that were as frustrating as they are helpful. How did this happen? Are we terrible parents? How do we decontaminate our house? But the one that has been on our minds most is,
how the fuck do we get rid of it?
which turned out to be way more complicated than you'd think. Hi, my name is Blake, and people like to tell me that I make being an adult seem less scary. While I am still totally terrified, I thought it'd be helpful to compile a list of skills, attributes, and lessons that I have found useful on my own journey to becoming an adult. Remember, getting old is inevitable, but growing up fucking rips if you know how to do it. Episode 2, Following Through. It has taken me 2 months to make this video, and I thought it was going to take me about a week. And that's not because this is a particularly hard video to make, that is because I struggle with the exact topic of this video. I had a mattress that I needed to get rid of, and I wanted to tell a story about the importance of following through in adulthood, and holy shit, I thought it was just such a natural combination to put the two together, and I failed to recognize just how much I did not want to do either of those things. Moreover, I didn't understand how hard it was going to be for me to actually follow through. In doing this, I swear there's a silver lining here. I have learned what I think is the reason why we struggle so much with getting the things done that we actually want to do but can't finish. And also, I've created a nice little system to help you get the shit done that you're trying to do, which I'll tell you at the end of the video. Before we get there, let me tell you a story about how I learned about the importance of following through in the first place. I wasn't always the kind of guy who would even consider that there was a right or a wrong way to dispose of a mattress leaking hazardous material. See, I moved out when I was 18, and I got the kind of apartment you would expect an 18-year-old could afford, waiting tables 6 days a week at a corporate Chinese food restaurant. You know the one. My apartment shared a wall with the 101 freeway. It had carpet that looked like it was repurposed from a casino, and it smelled like Kung Pao chicken and bad decisions. It was sketchy as hell. So, when a friend suggested we pool our resources to get a place together that was less sketchy as hell, I jumped at the chance. A little too fast, in fact. See, I had never moved out of anywhere before, so I didn't know the protocol. I was too embarrassed to ask, too nervous I would look dumb, and by the time I realized that I probably should have given notice, it was already too late. So I packed up in the middle of the night and just left. And I left behind a pretty big mess, namely a love seat that I couldn't figure out how to move by myself. Unexpectedly, abandoning my apartment in that way, it also left something behind in me. This lingering feeling that something was unfinished. And while I tried to ignore it, it began to haunt me. Literally. 3 days after the first of the month, I started getting calls from the building manager wondering when I was going to pay rent. Of course, I ignored it until one day I got a call from my landlord at the restaurant I was working at, explaining to me that if I didn't pay my rent, all of this was going to go to collections and ruin my credit forever. Mind you, I was a child. I had no idea what that meant, but I did know it was very serious. Then, right there on the phone, in about 5 minutes, less time than it took to steam the pork dumplings that were supposed to go out to my next table, we figured out a solution. This is what I want to talk about. Here, I'll show you. When we avoid doing something that sucks, that's because we sort of assume that the pain that we associate with doing that thing is like taking money out of the bank. If we do it tomorrow, it's going to be the same amount as if we do it in 6 months. I didn't tell my landlord that I was moving out because it was uncomfortable, and it would be the same amount of discomfort if I did it tomorrow or a couple days from now. That's not actually how not following through with things works. When you don't do something that you need to do, it's more like compounding credit card debt, in that it creates a whole slew of problems that didn't exist in the first place. For example, I had to live with the shame of not taking care of things. I had to disappoint my landlord, and even more so, I had to make my problem my landlord's problem. Put another way, the pain that we create when we are trying to avoid pain is significantly greater than the pain we were trying to avoid in the first place. That was pretty easy. Alright, so in an effort to actually just get this thing done, we're going to speed run how to schedule a bulk pickup, I guess. Now, you may be wondering, Blake, you live in Los Angeles, where there is a time-honored tradition of just throwing your shit out on the street and letting somebody else deal with it. Why don't you just do that? Because in the throes of procrastination, I went to great lengths to research why there was fiberglass in mattresses in the first place, and this is what I found out. They started putting fiberglass in mattresses in the early 2000s to make them less flammable, because the chemicals that they were previously using to make mattresses less flammable turned out to be super fucking toxic. And they started putting chemicals in mattresses in the 70s to make them less flammable when they learned that most people who died in house fires died laying down on their beds. Well, the same research also found that most of those fires started because somebody fell asleep while smoking. So rather than follow through and tell people they couldn't smoke or couldn't smoke indoors, they created two significantly greater problems through toxic chemical inhalation and fiberglass poisoning. So no, I'm not going to just throw my mattress out on the street and make my problem someone else's problem.
All right, quick update. It is 10:24, so that's it's 3 minutes. It took 3 minutes. It's humiliating how fast that was.
Okay, so here's how we fix it. Step 1, set a date. Set a non-negotiable deadline for when you are going to get this done. A good plan executed violently today is better than a perfect plan executed next week, so let's just do it. Step 2, create real, tangible, and sometimes painful stakes. The best way to do this is to make yourself accountable by telling your friends. I told my friend Kyle I was going to make this video last Friday. I told my manager I was going to make it last Friday. Finally, I told the internet that I was going to make this video today, and it is getting done because the pain of letting those people down is far greater than the pain of actually just following through with this. You got to hold yourself accountable. You got to tell people. You got to make stakes. 3, give yourself a reward. I know it is so silly that we are adults being motivated by little treats, but my God, it is pretty powerful to think that there's something really great on the other side of this. So, give yourself a reward. That's it. Set a date, make stakes, and give yourself a reward for completing it.